The Last of the Mohicans, 1992, wasn't just a film, it was a cultural phenomenon. With its sweeping landscapes, heart-pounding action, and unforgettable performances, the movie left an indelible mark on cinematic history. But behind the scenes, the cast's real-life dramas rivaled anything their characters endured. From tragic early deaths to shocking personal struggles, fame came at a steep price for many of these stars. Over 3 decades later, the stories of these actors reveal a haunting truth. Success in Hollywood often hides deep scars. Some battled addiction, others faced heartbreaking family rifts, and a few met untimely ends that left fans reeling. What happened to the faces we loved on screen? How did their brightest moments give way to such darkness? In this deep dive, we'll uncover the untold chapters of the Mohicans cast, where they soared, where they stumbled, and how they're remembered today. Their legacies are a mix of triumph and tragedy. A reminder that even the most luminous stars aren't immune to life's harshest storms. Subscribe now as we pull back the curtain on fame's hidden costs. The truth may surprise you. Few actors could command a scene like Pete Postlethwaite. With his gravelly voice and piercing gaze, he turned Captain Beams into one of the last of the Mohicans' most memorable supporting characters. Fans of 90s cinema will recognize him from his standout roles in The Usual Suspects and In the Name of the Father, where he brought raw intensity to every performance. But behind his on-screen brilliance lay a life marked by quiet struggles. Born in rural England, Postlethwaite's journey to Hollywood was anything but easy. He spent years grinding through theater productions and bit parts before getting his big break. Even after achieving fame, he remained intensely private, rarely giving interviews or attending glitzy premieres. Those close to him say this wasn't just shyness. It reflected a man deeply uncomfortable with the trappings of stardom. His personal life proved equally complex. A brief early marriage ended in divorce, and colleagues later noted he seemed to bury himself in work. In 2008, tragedy struck when he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. True to form, Postlethwaite kept his battle largely private, continuing to act even as his health declined. His final role, filmed while undergoing as the stern Colonel Monroe, Maurice Rose delivered one of the last of the Mohicans' most nuanced performances, a military man torn between duty and conscience. The Scottish actor brought gravitas to every role, from gritty British dramas like The Long Good Friday to epic war films. Yet those who worked with him often spoke of a melancholy that followed him off camera, a shadow that fame never quite dispelled. Rose's personal life read like a Shakespearean tragedy. Married 3 times, each union ended in quiet heartbreak. His eldest daughter famously refused to speak to him for nearly a decade after a bitter custody battle. Colleagues recalled how he'd often be the last to leave the set, as if avoiding an empty home. Acting wasn't just his career, said director Michael Mann. It was his refuge. The later years saw Rose retreat from public life entirely. Neighbors in his Edinburgh neighborhood would spot him walking alone along the Water of Leith, his once imposing frame growing frail. When he passed in 2020 at 83, only a handful of former co-stars attended the private funeral. His $1 million estate, including a modest townhouse and prized Jaguar E-Type, went to a nephew he'd rarely seen. Today, film historians recognize Rose as one of Britain's most underrated talents. His Colonel Monroe remains studied in acting schools for its masterful restraint. But perhaps his true legacy lies in the cautionary tale of his life. Proof that even the most commanding screen presence can harm. When Dennis Banks strode on a screen as the warrior Enoas, audiences witnessed something rare in 1990s Hollywood, an authentic Native American voice shaping his own narrative. The co-founder of the American Indian movement didn't just act in The Last of the Mohicans. He infused it with generations of lived experience. This made his performance electrifying, and his off-screen life even more complex. Banks' journey to acting was anything but conventional. After surviving the brutal Indian boarding school system, he became a leading figure in the 1973 Wounded Knee occupation. His activism made him both revered and controversial. FBI surveillance files on him reportedly filled 6 boxes. When director Michael Mann cast him, it wasn't just a role, it was cultural reckoning. Dennis didn't memorize lines, recalled co-star Russell Means. He channeled ancestors. This intensity came at personal cost. Banks married 4 times, with relationships strained by his relentless activism. His children grew up attending protests instead of PDA meetings. We called jail visits Dad's office hours. His daughter Dashina once joked bitterly. Even during filming, FBI agents allegedly monitored the set, creating palpable tension. The fiery intensity Patrice Chéreau brought to General Montcalm came from a place of deep artistic torment. The French polymath, equally celebrated as actor, playwright, and avant-garde filmmaker, approached the last of the Mohicans not as a Hollywood paycheck, but as what he called a barbaric poem about colonialism. This uncompromising vision created one of cinema's most complex villains and nearly destroyed him. Chéreau's method acting extremes became legend. He lived for months in a Quebec forest to become colonization's shadow, surviving on hunted game. Co-stars whispered about his 3 a.m. rehearsals in full military regalia. Patrice didn't play monsters, observed Daniel Day-Lewis. He dissected their souls. This obsession bled into his personal life. His Paris loft became a warren of historical maps and blood-stained prop weapons, unnerving even his longtime partner, ballerina Claire Bissett. The aftermath proved devastating. Chéreau's 2009 lung cancer diagnosis, he chain-smoked Turkish cigarettes during filming, coincided with his final directorial project collapsing. His last years were spent in legal battles over what he called the butchered edit of his masterpiece. The $10 million estate, including expressionist paintings and annotated scripts, now gathers dust in a foundation's vault per his bitter final wishes. When Russell Means burst onto the screen as Chinguk, audiences witnessed something revolutionary, a Native American warrior portrayed with unapologetic authenticity. The Oglala Lakota activist didn't just take a role in The Last of the Mohicans. He seized it as a platform for cultural truth. His electrifying performance would change Hollywood forever, while masking private battles that mirrored his people's struggles. Means brought real warrior experience to the role. Just years before filming, he'd been leading the American Indian movement through the deadly 1973 Wounded Knee standoff. Director Michael Mann later admitted fearing FBI interference during production, as Means was still on government watch lists. This tension fueled Means' performance. His famous death howl scene was reportedly inspired by actual combat cries from Wounded Knee. Off camera. Means' firebrand activism strained every aspect of his life. His first marriage collapsed under the weight of constant protests and arrests. "We didn't have a marriage," ex-wife Pearl Daniels confessed. "We had a revolution with occasional domestic moments." Even during filming, Means would disappear for days to attend tribal meetings, returning with fresh bruises from police altercations. His later years saw a surprise. Wes Studi's Magua wasn't just a villain. He was a force of nature. With his piercing glare and razor-sharp tomahawk skills, Studi turned what could have been a one-dimensional antagonist into one of cinema's most complex Native American characters. But few knew the real battles Studi fought off camera. The struggle against typecasting, the weight of representation, and a personal life marked by quiet resilience. Before Hollywood came calling, Studi had already lived a life worthy of a film script. A Vietnam veteran and former oil rig worker, he didn't pursue acting until his 40s, an unthinkable gamble that paid off spectacularly. His breakthrough as Magua showcased something revolutionary, a native character whose motivations felt human, not just plot devices. West brought layers to Magua that weren't on the page. Recalled director Michael Mann. You understood his rage. Asterisk. Asterisk, yet fame came with a cost. Studi became Hollywood's go-to native warrior, a typecast he both embraced and chafed against. Between blockbusters like Avatar and Dances with Wolves, he quietly funded Cherokee language program. Asterisk Eric Schweig's performance as Uncas, the noble warrior torn between love and duty, left audiences breathless. With his striking presence and soulful intensity, Schweig didn't just play Uncas. He embodied the heart of the last of the Mohicans. But behind the breakout role lay a lifetime of pain, addiction, and a search for identity that mirrored his character's journey. Asterisk. Hashtag from foster care to fame. Born in the Northwest Territories to an Inuit mother, Schweig's early life was marked by instability. Shuffled through 17 foster homes. He later described childhood as a survival course with no instruction manual. Acting became an escape, a way to where identities that fit better than my own. His raw talent caught Michael Mann's eye, but the sudden fame after Mohicans proved destabilizing. I went from couch surfing to red carpets overnight, Schweig recalled. No one prepares you for that whiplash. Hashtag the dark side of stardom. As offers poured in, Schweig struggled with the industry's expectations. Typecast as the stoic native, he grew disillusioned. They wanted Uncas forever. Not me. By the late 90s, he was self-medicating with alcohol, a battle that derailed his career. Asterisk Madeline Stowe's Cora Monroe wasn't just a damsel in distress. She was the emotional compass of the last of the Mohicans. Her luminous performance elevating the film into a sweeping romance for the ages. Yet behind those soulful eyes lay an actress deeply conflicted about fame. A woman who would trade Hollywood's glare for a life far from the spotlight. Asterisk. Hashtag the 90s it girl who hated fame. Fresh Off Revenge, 1990, and Short Cuts, 1993. Stowe was poised to become the decade's definitive leading lady. But the Mohicans shoot, with its grueling Appalachian location work, changed her. I love Cora's strength, but the hype afterward felt suffocating, she told Premiere in 1995. When offered Titanicus Rose, she famously passed, later admitting, I didn't want to be the girl in every blockbuster. Hashtag a marriage against the odds. Her 1986 wedding to actor Brian Benben defied Hollywood logic, a rare union that endured. But it wasn't without strain. Tabloids Asterisk Daniel Day-Lewis didn't just play Hawkeye. He became him. For 6 months before filming The Last of the Mohicans, the legendary method actor vanished into the wilderness, living off the land with only an 18th century-long rifle and handmade buckskins. What emerged was not just a performance, but a seismic shift in cinematic realism, one that would define his career and ultimately lead to his dramatic exit from acting. Asterisk. Hashtag the extreme transformation. Day-Lewis' preparation bordered on obsession. Trapped game with period-accurate snares. Canoed 300 miles of uncharted rivers. Refused to break character, even between takes. Co-stars whispered about finding him asleep in the forest. We'd show up to set and Daniel would already be there, cold, hungry, and completely in 1757, recalled Madeline Stowe. Hashtag the hidden toll. The role left permanent scars, both physical and psychological. Suffered 2 cracked ribs during stunt work. Developed tinnitus from prolonged muzzleloader exposure. Later admitted the isolation fractured something in him. Director Michael Mann kept a therapist on asterisk before he became Star Trek's beloved Chief O'Brien. Cole Meany delivered a razor-sharp performance as the pragmatic Major Ambrose in The Last of the Mohicans, a role that showcased the Dublin actor's rare ability to steal scenes without saying a word. But behind his everyman charm lay a career fought for tooth and nail and personal battles that mirrored his working-class heroes. Asterisk. Hashtag from the Dublin stage to the frontier. Meany brought unexpected depth to what could have been a forgettable officer role. Insisted on using his natural Irish accent. The British Army was full of us. Developed Ambrose's limp from real militia training injuries. Created the character's signature pipe-smoking ha. Bit from 18th century medical journals. Hashtag the Star Trek lifeline, asterisk. When Mohicans underperformed initially, Meany faced typecasting as the gruff military type, until asterisk Star Trek. The Next Generation asterisk offered an unlikely escape hatch. His 7-year run as Transporter Chief O'Brien became television history, though he later confessed, "I took that job to pay alimony." The art came later. Hashtag the divorce that nearly broke him. His 1994 split from wife Bear Bray Dowling cost him $2.8 million in California's brutal divorce courts. Forced him to take Deep Space Nine despite artistic doubts. Inspired his acclaimed one-man play The Prisoner, about a man financially gutted by love. Hashtag late career renaissance. Now 71, Meany enjoys a quiet victory lap. Owns a Dublin pub frequented by Game of Thrones cast. Earned $1.5 million for 2023's The Snapper sequel. Still rides the same 1983 Norton motorcycle he bought with his Mohicans paycheck. Asterisk. Colm's the only man who can break your heart while pouring Guinness. Asterisk said Star Trek co-star Patrick Stewart. It's this lived-in authenticity, forged in Mohicans' wilderness, that keeps him working when flashier stars have faded. The Last of the Mohicans didn't just capture a moment in history. It became its own cinematic legend, a film whose behind-the-scenes drama rivaled the French and Indian War depicted. 3 decades later, its cast journeys reveal a haunting truth. Great art demands great sacrifice. Some, like Daniel Day-Lewis and Madeline Stowe, escaped fame's gilded cage. Others, Russell Means, Dennis Banks, used their platform to fight real-world battles. A few, like Pete Postlethwaite and Maurice Rose, left us too soon, their brilliance frozen in celluloid. What endures is the film's raw power. Modern blockbusters still borrow its sweeping tracking shots. Young actors study Wes Studi's controlled fury and Eric Schweig's wounded vulnerability. The movie's themes, cultural erasure, impossible love, the cost of survival, feel more urgent than ever. Yet the greatest legacy lies in the cast's collective refusal to be stereotypes. They weren't just playing characters, they were reclaiming history. When Means growled his lines in Lakota, when Schweig carved totems between takes, they weren't just making a movie, they were correcting centuries of Hollywood lies. As the credits roll on this retrospective, one question lingers. Was it worth it? For every actor who found peace, another paid a terrible price. Perhaps that's the real lesson of Mohicans. Not every battle ends at cut, and not all wounds heal. Asterisk, subscribe for more untold stories of cinema's hidden casualties. Which actor's journey moved you most? Let us know in the comments. We read every one. Asterisk.